I'd like us to start with a word of prayer, and maybe let me just open it with a word of prayer. So let's believe and pray. So, Father, Almighty God, we thank you for this far that you have brought us. We thank you, Almighty God, for the protection. It has been long since we met uh, due to some unavoidable challenges that made us not to continue with our sessions. But Father, we thank you that we are able now to join together and continue with the sessions. I pray all this, believing that you're going to give us the knowledge and the strength to be able to continue and be able to complete this course successful. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now, we're going to start, and we're going to start from where we left. And I think the last session we had learned on how to access some of the sample SPSS data that's already inbuilt in the SPSS program. And that's what we're going to start with. So I'd like all of us to open the SPSS software. And I hope you can be able to see my screen. If you're not able to see my screen, kindly just unmute and let me know. So let's open the SPSS software so that we can continue. So in case you face any challenge, or I'm too fast, or you don't understand anything, kindly just unmute and let me know. So let's wait as the SPSS software opens up. So you can see it takes a few minutes to open up. So I hope all of us are on the same page. So as you can see, once you open an SPSS software, you're going to get this welcome dialog box, whereby you'll be able to where you'll be able to see new data. You're going to see where you can be able to get help and support. You can be able to get tutorials and all that. So what you're going to do, I want you to close this dialog box, and I want us to go, and I hope everyone has opened the software kindly. Kuna mtu nimeacha nyuma?
Yangu inafunguka mwalimu.
Okay. I should give you a few minutes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Faith? Okay, I'll continue. Now, because of time, we'll not be able to come up with our own data, and also for the practice after we are through with this software, you may want to do your own practice and try to learn and try to remind yourself what you are learning throughout the course. So in case you want this sample data that has already been done with all what we had discussed, so you're going to come here to File. So I want all of us to click on the File menu, and then you go to Open. You click on this Open. Then you will be directed to this option here, this command called Data. So once you point on Open, you just come straight to Data. You click on it. Then you're going to you're going to get this dialog box here. So you're going to come here, look in. You're going to click on this button here, and I hope you are seeing my screen. You come to this button here. Yes, I want you to look for this PC. So it should be up here. You click on this PC, click on it. Then whatever has been shown here, I want you to look for local disk C. Local disk C. So just click on it and then you click open. So just click on it once, then you click open. So I hope we are all together up to that point. If I leave you behind, kindly just raise up your hand.
Hebu rudia tena tukienda pamoja.
Okay. So you click here on File, on the menu. Just go to File. You come here to Open. Then we have this option Data. You click on it. I think we are together up to that point. Then you can see mine. I'd already opened it, so don't worry. I want you to look for this PC, what I'm pointing here. From the drop-down menu, look in, you click on this PC. Then you're going to get the list. I want you to look for local disk but C. There are two options that you can do here. One, you can double click on it. Or click on it once and then you click open. So whichever way you like to do. After that, I want you to come here and look at the two files. We have the first one called program files, and the second one that we call program files with 86. Now, I don't know who knows the type of system that he has, whether it's what do we call? Okay, I want you to double click on program files. This one with the 86. I want you to double click on it, open it, program files. And if your machine is a 64-bit, I want you to use the one without 86. But for the sake of uniformity, let's all of us click on program files. Although mine is 64-bit, so I'm not going to get that option here. So after opening the program files with the x86, this means it's 86-bit system. So let me click on the one that has mine, 64-bit. I want you to look for a folder called IBM. This one, IBM.
Kidogo mwalimu.
Ndio.
How do we go back to now selecting program files without 86?
Oh, I want you to click on this button here. Are you seeing? There's a button pointing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in case you have gone to 86 and you have not found the IBM, because it should be here, you go back here and go to program files, and then you double click on IBM. IBM.
Okay. What if I found the one with the
The IBM,
with the mm-hmm.
you wait there.
Okay.
Yeah. So anybody who has not got, or okay, I want to see by the use of reaction who has got the IBM in capital, in caps. Let's
Oh,
use.
it's actually not there on my end.
Okay, go back and go to the program files. I think your machine is 64 bits.
Okay.
Yes. Jonathan, have you been able to locate the IBM?
Yes.
Thank you. McKenna? McKenna, have you been able to locate the IBM folder? Faith? Thank you, thank you. Now, I want you to double click again on the IBM. Double click on it. I think that's the easiest way. Double click on IBM. So once you double click on IBM, you'll be able to get an SPSS folder, and it will be on its own. Should be on its own. So again, I want you to double click on SPSS folder. Sorry, you can click on it and click open, whichever way. So once you open it, you get statistics. I want you to click and open it. Then you're going to get number 27. This means it is the version of the SPSS. So the version that we are using currently is the latest 27. So that is the version of the SPSS. I want you to open again the folder. So once you get here, you get a folder called samples. Samples. So I want you again to open this folder called samples. Once you are there, you're going to get folder with different languages, and the language that we are going to use is English. So the language, I want you to open the folder called English, because all the data will be in English. Now, once you get here, what you're seeing on the screen, these are thousands and thousands of data from SPSS that you can use for your own practice and revision. Now, for today's session, I want us to use a file, an SPSS file called employee and employee data. So I want you to come here at the file name, because if you try to scroll here, we may take a lot of time. So come here to file name. I want you to click on it on the file name. Just write EMP. Just write EMP, and then you'll be able to see what the file name. And I want you to select it. By the use of reactions, let me see if we are all together, because this data is the one that you're going to use. Yes, thank you, Faith. Jonathan, any challenge? Thank you, thank you. So once you do that, I want you to click open, so that we'll be able now to get our data for today's session. Now, as you can see, we have been able to get an employee data that has already been worked on SPSS. So if you come here to variable view, you'll be able to see how that data was, whoever did came up with here using the variable view. And if you want now to see the actual data, you're going to go to data view here, and you'll be able to see what the data that was collected. Now, for today's session, we want to go straight away to what we call inferential analysis. And I would request you to have a pen and a paper. Even though we are supposed to have a lot of practice, I think it will be nice, or it will be good, if you'll be noting some of these things, because I don't think you'll be able to to grasp all of them at once just by listening. So kindly look for a pen and a paper, and I want you to be noting this. So let me just give you a minute. You can quickly look for somewhere where I want you to write. Now, as we continue now, if you remember the last session or the last sessions that we had, we were actually dealing with descriptive analysis. And descriptive analysis actually describe data, or it is whereby you try to get more information about data. For example, descriptive analysis, when you want to do a descriptive analysis to gender, you actually want to know how many female are there, or how many uh, male are there. And what you are going to do, you actually, what happens in the descriptive analysis is that you want to find out the relationship between one variable to another. Now, when now it comes to inferential analysis, we actually focus on relationships of variables. So inferential analysis, we mainly focus on relationships of variables. So when you talk about inferential analysis, you focus on relationships of variables. Now, inferential comes from the word infer. Infer means to look or to seek for more information that you don't know. So when you talk about inferential analysis, we are actually trying to seek or to look for certain information that we don't know. So now, basically, if you run an analysis and when you run an analysis, you're actually looking for information that you don't know, so that you can be able to present this information that you are actually seeking to your bosses or specific stakeholders, so that informed decision can be made. So what happens here, when you do inferential analysis, you'll be able to draw conclusions after doing the analysis. So if I may repeat again, inferential analysis is whereby we focus on relationship of variables, and we are saying that inferential comes from the word infer, or to seek for more information. Now, we have different types of inferential analysis, and you're going to name them in a few minutes. And before that, what happens here? For any type of inferential analysis to be run, it will actually depend on the nature of that variable. So for any type of inferential analysis to be run, it will depend on the nature of the variable. So inferential analysis depends on the relationship of a variable. So let's learn now about these types of relationships that I've been talking about, because I've been saying that inferential analysis depends on what? The nature of the variable and the relationships of the variable. Now, number one, and I want you to note down here, the first type, there are actually four types of relationships that we are going to tackle in inferential analysis. Now, the first type of relationships that you're going to learn is, number one, relationship between two or more categorical variables. So the first relationship we're going to learn is the relationship between two or more categorical variable. And the test of analysis that you're going to use here is what you call chi-square test of association. The second type of relationship that we're going to see and look at is relationship between two or more continuous variable. So relationship between two or more continuous variables. And the analysis that we're going to do here is what we call correlation analysis. The third relationship is going to be relationship between categorical variables and continuous variables. And the third one is relationship between categorical and continuous variables. And the analysis that you're going to do here on the third one relationship is independent sample t-test. Now, the last relationship is called relationship. Actually, it is the relationship between how one variable affects another variable. Relationship between how one variable affects another variable. And the analysis that we're going to run here is what you call regression analysis. Don't worry much. I think I'll be repeating. Actually, I'll be repeating all this as we learn. So make sure just note down, and then we'll continue. Now, anytime that you are doing inferential analysis, we have steps that we must follow. So anytime that you are doing inferential analysis, there are steps that you must follow. Now, the first step here, again, you can note down. The first step here, you have to identify the type of test statistics that you are supposed to use. And what we are talking here is the name of the analysis that you are running. For example, if you go back to the type of relationship. So, for example, we are in number one. You want to find out the relationship between two or more categorical variables. So let's use this example number one. We want to see the relationship between two or more categorical variables. So the first rule here or steps is you have to identify what? The name of the analysis to be used. So what is the name of the analysis that you're going to use in relationship between two or more categorical variables? Someone to try? You can unmute. It's actually the chi-square test of association. If you are dealing with the relationship between two or more continuous variables, it will be what? Correlation analysis. If you want to dealing with relationship between categorical and continuous variable, it will be independent sample t-test. If you are dealing with relationship between how one variable affects another variable, it will be regression analysis. So the first step, you have to identify the name of the analysis. The second step, you have to formulate your hypothesis. The second step, you have to formulate your hypothesis. Now, what happens? You normally formulate two types of hypothesis. So, in this second step, you have to formulate an hypothesis, and we normally formulate what? Two types of hypothesis. The first type of hypothesis, we call it null, and the other type of hypothesis, we call it what? So the first one is null, and the other one is called what? Alternative. And before I continue, let me just explain what we call what is known as hypothesis. Now, hypothesis is a statement of claim or assumption that is subject to test or approval. So it is just a statement, or even the simplest word I can say, assumption. So it's a statement of assumption that is subject to test or approval. For example, we have always been feeling like education has an impact to income. So, uh, you feel that the more learned you are, the higher income. So the more learned you are, the higher the income. In some cases, it might be yes, or in some cases, it might be no. So the statement that education affects how much you earn, this is just an example of what? An hypothesis. It has not been confirmed whether it is true or false. So, so we can see here that an hypothesis what? It's a statement where a statement of assumption or a claim that is subject to for an approval. So these types of hypotheses, if I can quickly go through them, so we can say the first one we said is null, and the other one is alternative. So this type of hypothesis called null. The first one will always show that there is no relationship. The null hypothesis. We're going to see how we come up with it or how we apply it. And then the other one, the alternative, will always show that there is a relationship. Are we together up to that point? Any question? And I hope I'm not too fast. Yes, Faith, you have something to say?
Yes, I think I have gotten most of it,
Yes.
except for the names of the relationships. Maybe if you don't mind, you can just brush through them. The
Okay.
names.
Oh,
Yeah.
the names. And what about the relationship? Do I touch on them?
Yes, please. Like the name and what that relationship
O-
means.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me go back quickly. So as I said, that we have types of inferential analysis. And I said also, for any type of inferential analysis to be run, it will depend on the nature of that variable. And inferential analysis is dependent on relationship of a variable. So the relationship that you're going to learn or that are there are four. So the first relationship, the first one is relationship between two or more categorical variables, and the analysis that you run to test a relationship between two or more categorical variable is what we call chi-square test of association. Chi-square test of association. Uh, to test relationship between two or more continuous variable, to test the relationship between two or more continuous variables, we run a test known as correlation analysis. That is the second. The third one, to test the relationship between categorical and continuous variable, we run an analysis known as independent sample t-test. And lastly, relationship between how one variable affects another one, or a relationship on how one variable affects another variable, we run analysis called regression analysis. So are you good up to that point, Faith?
Yes, thank you. But independent what? I was noting down.
For number 3,
Yes.
independent sample t-test.
T-test.
Yeah, capital T,
Okay.
and then you put a dash. So let me,
Okay.
yeah, I think, so I've put it in the, yeah, independent t-test. Anybody else? So as I said, so anytime you are doing inferential analysis, there are steps that you must follow. So as I said, the first thing you have to identify the name of the analysis. So there are 4 there. So you have to identify which one you want to run. The second one, you have to formulate your hypothesis. And I said there are usually two types of hypothesis, the null and alternative. And I say that an hypothesis is a statement of assumption that is subject to test or approval. And I gave an example that we were always been feeling like education has an impact to the income. And in some cases, it might be true, or it might be, in some cases, you some say yes or no. But until it is tested, it remains an hypothesis. And these two types of an hypothesis, we say that null will always show that there is no relationship. So, for example, if you find that you test that hypothesis between the education and income, and you find that it is not true, you're going to say that there is no relationship between education and income. When you come to the alternative hypothesis, we'll always show that there is a relationship. So when formulating an hypothesis, you need to formulate both null and alternative hypothesis. Now, still on this, okay, I'm going to go back there. Anybody there on hypothesis? If I go to the next step. So after now you formulate your hypothesis, which must be both null and alternative, we come to the third stage. Here, you state your confidence level. So after identifying the type of analysis or the name of the analysis you want to run, or the name of the analysis, the next thing you have to formulate your hypothesis. Now, the third step, you state your confidence level. Now, what is a confidence level? From the word confidence. Now, confidence level is the level of surety that you conduct a study. So, when you are doing a particular thing, how sure are you? How sure are you that you are doing the right thing? For example, if a doctor is operating, or rather doing a surgery to a patient, how sure is the doctor that the patient is going to come out well? If maybe you are cooking, I'll give an example of chapati, because I think it's kind of you need to have enough skills for you to do that. So if you are cooking chapatis, how sure are you that you're going to come out with the way they are supposed to be, or you're going to come out with something that can be eaten? That is what you call what? Confidence level. So confidence level is something very important, because it will be putting at key interest when it comes to analysis. So here we can say, how sure are you that the analysis that we will be having is the right analysis to be used for decision making? So these are some of the questions, and these questions will come out actually from the stakeholders, or the persons that you actually presenting this analysis to. So how sure are you that the analysis that you will be having is the right analysis to be used for what? Decision making. Now, in the field of social science, except in very sensitive parts of medicine, like surgery, let's say surgery and those sensitive, the specific sensitive parts of medicine, then we normally use a confidence level of 95%. So I want you to note down. So apart from the sensitive parts of medicine, like what we call surgery, and those parts of medicine whereby you are dealing with the human body, we usually use a confidence level of 95%. So what does confidence level of 95% mean? Is that if you are conducting a study, you are sure up to 95%. So that means that you are not sure at 100% because you can make an error. So therefore, you are given an allowance that you can make an error. And this allowance is a margin of what? 5%. So we can see here that in analysis, you are sure up to what? 95%. But there is 5% that you have an allowance for in case you make an error or a mistake. And what does that mean? It is that when you are doing analysis, you are not expected to make a 100%. You are not what I mean is that you are not expected that to be 100% sure. It means that you are given an allowance of error of 5%. So our confidence level here is what? 95%. The 5%, it is just left in case you make what? An error or a mistake. Now, this 5% that is left, we normally convert it into a decimal or a value. And when we convert it into a value, it actually becomes 0.05. So I want you to note down that. So this margin of 5% that remains. So we have said the confidence level is what? 95%. But we have this room for error and mistake, which is 5%. So we have to convert it into what? A value or a decimal, which becomes what? 0.05. Now, this 0.05, we normally call it an alpha value. An alpha value. Or alternatively, you can call it a significant value. So the 0.05, we normally call it an alpha value or a significant value. So are we together up to that point? Remember, this is that step that you have to undertake when conducting an analysis. Thank you. Now, let me touch a bit on medicine. Initially, I talked about medicine. Now, for these people who are in medicine field, their confidence level is usually at 99%. And we are not going to use that one. This is just for your knowledge. So for the people in medicine or the doctors, whoever involved in medicine, they usually use a confidence level of 99%. Now, this is because they are dealing with the human body. So they don't need to have a lot of error margin like the one that we are having in analysis. So the 95 confidence level of 95% is only meant for data analysis. So kindly note that. But in medicine, in field of medicine, the confidence level they are allowed is 99%. They are not encouraged. It's not encouraged in medicine to have a bigger margin like the 5%, because 5% is a very big margin when it comes to human body. So the confidence level in medicine is 99%. Now the 1% remaining, when you convert it, you get 0.01. And you can see here it's a very small margin, although it shouldn't be there, but it must be there so that to leave room for mistake or error, which must be at a very minimal margin. And again, this 0.01, we call it again as an alpha value or a significant value. Now, let me talk a bit about the 1%. Why? Why do we have this 1% in medicine? Now, if you have happened to take someone to an hospital, but I think this is a general knowledge that all of us know. So you have heard that when someone is taken to a theater, there's usually this this form that you are supposed to sign, either the patient or the person who has taken him there or her there, and you're supposed to sign this form. Now, what does this form represent? This form represents the 1%. So when you sign that form, you are actually giving room to the 1% that, and you are actually accepting that this patient can come out alive or dead. And you normally sign the form to give assurance that you are okay with that the patient can come out alive or dead. And that consent form is usually used to save the doctor, because it means that the doctor is not working at 100% rather is working at what? 99%. I hope that is now clear. Now, for our class, all through the analysis, we'll be using a confidence level of 95%. And we therefore have an allowance of 5%, and we convert it into an alpha value or a significant value of which will be 0.05. So I want you to note that. Now, the third step is what we call decision making. So now, after doing the last three steps, you're going to come to decision making. But here, in some cases, you might find that the third step, the confidence level and decision making, you find that once you start doing the analysis, you'll find they come up together. So you're going to see that. So the first step is what we call decision making. Now, for you to make a decision, you need what we call a p-value. So you need what we call a p-value. So a p-value under the alpha value or the significant value. Now remember, we already have the alpha value or the significant value. So what is the p-value? So as I said, let me repeat again. For you to make a decision, you need a p-value and an alpha value. And if you can remember, we already have the alpha value, which is what? 0.05. So that is our what? Our alpha value, or another name is significant value. So now, when it comes now to p-value, p-value. So let me talk about the p-value because you have the alpha value. So p-value, you'll always get it when you run an analysis. So you'll always get it when you run an analysis. So if you analyze your data, you will always get a p-value. And I'm going to show you how to get that p-value in a few minutes. So you normally compare the p-value and the alpha value. So you normally compare the p-value and the alpha value. The alpha value is 0.05. Now, after comparing, that's when now you'll be able to do what? To come up with the decision making that you are supposed to make. Now, after comparing, if the p-value, I want you to note down, if the p-value is less than the alpha value, if the p-value is less than alpha value, then you reject a null hypothesis. If the p-value is less than alpha value, then you reject a null hypothesis. And what that null hypothesis says, that there is no relationship. Therefore, you are going to conclude that there is a relationship between the variables concerned. So, if you can remember, we said what? Null value says what? Null hypothesis says what? That there is no relationship between variables. What about the alternative? It says there's a relationship between variables. So if the p-value is less than an alpha value, then you reject a null hypothesis. And if you, what do you say? Null hypothesis says what? There is no relationship. Sawa sawa. So therefore, you're going to conclude that there is a relationship between the variables concerned. And if the p-value, so you have to note that if the p-value is less than alpha value, reject the null hypothesis and you conclude that there is a relationship between the variables concerned. Are we together up to that point? Any question? Thank you. So that is the the fourth step, the decision making. Now, and as I said, I'll always be repeating what you have been saying. So the alpha, remember the alpha that you have already is 0.05, and that's what's going to make us to make the be able to do the decision. Now, what happens if the p-value is greater than the alpha value? If the p-value now, if you can remember that the other one is what? The p-value was less than the alpha value. Now, if the p-value is greater than alpha value, you don't accept. So I think you don't accept. We don't accept anything in analysis. We don't. So what you say, you fail to reject the null hypothesis. So if the p-value is greater than alpha value, you fail to reject the null hypothesis. And what does that mean? It is that null hypothesis is now in place. And you say that there is no relationship between the variables concerned. Are we together up to that point? Are we together up to that point? So let me just go back and repeat this. Let me go back and repeat. So after doing, we have said for decision making, you need a p-value and an alpha value. And another name for alpha value is significant value. We already have the alpha value, which is 0.05. And we are saying the p-value is also known as probability value. Probability value. And the p-value or the probability value, we get it when we conduct an analysis. Sorry for that. Now, when you conduct your analysis and you get the p-value and you already have the alpha value and you compare and the p-value is less than the alpha value, the p-value is less than the alpha value, you reject the null hypothesis, which says that there is no relationship. Therefore, you conclude that there is a relationship between the variable concerned, because it means when you reject the null hypothesis, the alternative or the hypothesis comes into place, which says that there is a relationship between the variables concerned. Now, if the p-value is greater than the alpha value, what do you say? You fail to reject the null hypothesis, and therefore you conclude that there is no relationship between the variables concerned, and that will be the conclusion. Now, anytime you hear there is a relationship between variables concerned, the model, this is what we call what? The model, we say the model is significant. So when you say there is a relationship between variables, you say what? Model is significant. So model is significant means if there's a relationship between variables, there is a relationship between variables concerned. And this model is significant. This is a terminology that can be used between analysts. So you can always use this when you are dealing with another analyst. When there is a relationship between variables concerned, you say the model is significant. I think that's a term that is normally used between what you call the analysts, those who already are in the field of analysts. So if you come across the model is significant, it means there is a relationship between the variables concerned. Sawa sawa. And then lastly, on the steps is the conclusion. Now, in the conclusion, this is the point where you mention if there is a relationship or not. So if you are keen, we have already concluded the decision making. So there is a relationship between, if maybe there is a relationship between variables or there is no relationship between variables concerned. So if for example, you come with the conclusion that there is a relationship between variables concerned or there is no relationship between variables concerned, you have actually come to the conclusion. So basically, those are the 5 steps of inferential analysis. And we are going to actually go to practicals. And before I go back, let's just refresh quickly. So the first step, when you're supposed to do the inferential analysis, we said what? Someone to tell me. The first step is what? Quickly. Let's engage. I want to ensure that we are all together. You know, this is analysis. The first step.
The first step is to determine the type of relationship.
The test of statistics that you, sorry, yeah, good. So you have to identify relationship, of course. But the first step, you have to do what? The name of the analysis that you want to run. Thank you, Faith. The name of the analysis that you run. Of course, after knowing the relationship you want to do, you have to know the name of the analysis. The second thing, you formulate your hypothesis. And the 2 types of hypothesis we have is null and alternative. The null hypothesis says what? Will always show that there is no relationship. The alternative will always show there is a relationship for the alternative. Now, the third step, you state your confidence level. And we say the confidence level for analysis is 95%. Then the 5%, we convert it into a value which is 0.05, which we call an alpha value. Then the next step is what we come to what we call the confidence level, decision making. The decision making is whereby now you come and you need the p value and the alpha value which already you have. And when you compare, you are able to come with either a null hypothesis or an alternative hypothesis. Now let's quickly go and do an practical. So I hope all of us has opened the SPSS as we had earlier talked about. So here we're going to tackle the relationship between 2 or more categorical variables. So the first is relationship between 2 or more categorical variables. And what you're going to do, we're actually going to use 2 categorical variables in our table. And the first categorical variable that you're going to use is gender. So the first categorical variable that you're going to use is gender. So I don't know if it has gender. Uh-huh. Mhm. So let me just now. Do you have the still have the table for I think there is this table for the one that we had done. Faith, there's this employee table that we had done in class. Do you remember? And Jonathan?
Yes, I remember. I'm trying to find it.
Yes, because I think this one is a bit.
And
So maybe Jonathan, can you be able to record yours as I find mine? I think that one is the one that you're going to use.
Mwalimu,
Yes.
I have my table.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Just give me a minute. Let's give Faith a minute to look for it. I think I can also find mine. So you should be able to have the gender and the employment category. Um, Just a minute. Let me try to locate it. Now, so you're going to use the gender and the employment category. So we want to run a relationship between two or more categorical variables. So categorical here, we see here we have gender where we have male and female, and also have employment whereby we have different cadres of employment. So we are going to run a relationship between gender and employment category. So what you are just trying to say is that we we want to know whether there is a relationship between gender and job category, and in short, is there a relationship between you being a male or being a female with the kind of the job position that you are currently having or you are getting? So we see whether your gender actually affects the job category that you will be getting. Now, here we'll have to run a chi-square test of association. And before we run a chi-square test of association, always we must go through the steps. I hope you remember the steps I talked about. The first one, you identify the test. So this relationship between two or more categorical variable, we said you are going to use which type of test? It's called a chi-square test of association. The second thing, you have to formulate your null and alternative hypothesis. So our null hypothesis in this case, it will be there is no relationship between gender and job category. And the alternative hypothesis will be there is a relationship between gender and job categories. So this one will be determined after the analysis. And then the third step is you're going to state the confidence level. And we said you are going to use the 95% of confidence level. The fourth one is decision making. This is where now we come to our analysis. So let's now quickly go and do our analysis, the chi-square test of association. So we come here. So let us all click on analyze. Click on analyze. Then I want you to click on descriptive statistics. Sorry, click on descriptive and statistics. Then I want you to come here. Sorry. So go back to analysis, descriptive. I want you to come here to cross tabs. Sorry, I had clicked descriptive. I want you to come to cross tabs. So are we together up to that point? If you are together, I want you to click on the cross tabs. Click on the crosstabs. Now here, we'll have to choose our two categorical variables that we want to test. Now we have the column and the, we have the rows and the columns. Here, it doesn't matter what you put in the rows or in the columns. Why? Because we are dealing with two natures of categorical variables. This simply means the two are the same. So these are two types of what? Categorical variables, but you are only testing the relationship between the two categorical variables. So let's start and click here on the gender. So once you decide to put the gender in the row, so I want you to click on this button. That automatically means what? You have to place what? The employment category in the column section. And as I said, it doesn't matter what you put in the row or in the column, because both of them are what? Are categorical variables. So as what we said, we need to identify the type of test that you're going to do. How do you find the test? The chi-square test of association. You come here. I hope you're seeing this part of the commands. So you have the first one, exact. Can you leave that one? I want you to come to statistics. I want you to come to statistics. I want you to click on it. I hope you are together up to that point. In case you are not, kindly let me know. If you are not or you're behind, kindly let me know. So I want you to only check the chi-square. The chi-square. Yes, Faith?
Yeah, I'm a little behind. I'm still selecting the row and the column. Just a minute.
Okay. So make sure you insert one in the row column and the other one in the rows and the other one in the columns. And for uniformity, kindly let's just have the gender in the rows and the columns in the employment in the columns.
Okay, done.
Okay. So I want you to click on the statistics. Statistics. Then I want you to check the chi-square. This is what I was talking about, chi-square. It depends on how you name it. So it is chi-square. Just check the only chi-square here. Once you check it, I want you to click on continue. Once you click continue, so are you together at that point? So remember, you check the chi-square, you click continue, then you come and click what? Okay. And there you go. You'll be able to get what? Your analysis. Now, after you click on it, you'll be able to get now your analysis. Now, you can see here we have what we call crosstabs. So crosstabs simply means what? The results that we have got. Now, anytime you run an inferential analysis, because what you have just done is what we call an inferential analysis, you'll always be able to get what you call the descriptive analysis first. The first two tables. These ones are descriptive analysis. You can see here, it is actually describing the number, the total number is 474 in the category department, which is 100%. And the missing values are 0. When you come here to gender again, you see this, it is categorized and it's being described. Yes, Faith? Faith, you have something?
Yeah. Sorry, you lost me a little.
Okay.
After the selection, after we selected the row and the column, hapo kwa chi-square.
Okay, let me repeat. So we say we come to analyze, descriptive, start with analyze.
Udah gue tidak gips oke gitu yo.
So okay, so so you come to analyze, descriptive, you come to cross tabs. So I'm just repeating, so don't then from there, once you select, I think you are up to there, you are good up to here. So
Yeah.
so I think you are here. You are supposed to only check the chi-square only. Don't check anything else. This is what you are testing. Then after checking this chi-square, I need you to click on continue. Faith, you can use the emojis. So click on continue. After that, just click on OK. Nothing else. You don't click on anything else. Just click on OK. And then what I'm doing here, I'm just removing these parts because they are not necessary. Yeah, the rest you can leave. So are you together at that point? Jonathan, I hope you are good. Thank you. Thank you, Faith. Jonathan, thank you. Now, as I said, anytime you run an inferential analysis, you'll always get a descriptive analysis first, especially in the first and second table. In most cases, you might write one or two tables. But here, these are the descriptive analysis. So we don't need it here. So what we are interested in, actually interested is here, this table, the chi-square tests. So let's look at the chi-square tests table. Now, something I want you to note that anytime you run this inferential analysis, you'll be getting so many values. But now you are the person who needs to identify which value you need to use, because some of these values you'll always be getting them when you are doing things manually. So for example, we have these values. So I want to explain something. I'm saying when you're doing this test or when you're doing inferential analysis, you'll be getting so many values, but it is up to you now to know which value to use. So for example, when you want now to do it manually, because this inferential chi-square test can actually be done manually. When you want to do it manually now on your own, you'll be using these two values, this value and this DF. This DF means degree of freedom. But it is not important right now because what you are actually interested in, it is the chi-square test. So basically, what I'm saying, you need to know what you want to use in this particular case. So in this case, we are running chi-square test of association. So let's get to what you are supposed to know. So if you remember back, we said after running the analysis, you need to identify what we call what? The P value, so that you'll be able to compare with the alpha value. And the alpha value we said was 0.05 percent, because we already have identified that our confidence level is 95%. So in this case here, we need to know the P value. So I want you to look where it's written Python's Python chi-square here. And then I want you to go to the last column here. You see here, the asymptotic significance, the two-sided. So I want you to look at this figure here. So I hope you can be able to see my screen. So the Pearson square here. So let me double click on it. This one. So can you be able to see here? Can you be able to see here? Thank you, thank you. Now, this is what we call the p-value, the 0.01. So let me not confuse you. Here, this is what we call what? The p-value. The p-value here is actually 0.01. Now, in Pearson square, you're going to see that the last value now, and this is what we call what? The p-value, this one, 0.01. So, the p-value is usually a very, very long value. It's usually a very long value. This value here that you're seeing here. But SPSS will always truncate, meaning that it will cut without rounding it off to a certain digit. So in this case, you can see that our p-value is actually what? 0.0, it is 0.001. So let's now compare our p-value with the alpha value. So someone can unmute here and we discuss something. So we said we have our p-value which is 0.001 and our alpha value was what? Jonathan, what was our alpha value? It was 0.00.
5.
Very good. Perfect. So we need now to compare the two, the p-value with the alpha value, so that now we can be able to come with, we'll be able to make a decision making. So how do we do the decision making now? So we said if the p-value is less than the alpha value, if the p-value is less than the alpha value, you reject the null hypothesis and you conclude that there is a relationship between the variables concerned. So in our case, is the p-value less than the alpha value or it is greater than the alpha value? So I want you to answer me. Which is the case? So I'll kindly request you to unmute.
Less.
The p-value is less than the alpha value. So what do we do here in this case? We say we do what? We reject the null hypothesis. And when we reject the null hypothesis was saying what? That there is no relationship between the variables. But when we reject, it means that there is a relationship between the variables concerned. Is that clear up to that point? Now, this is what it simply means, that from the test that we have just run, it is true that your gender, actually affects the employment category that you are going to be in. Now, you can see that anytime you run a chi-square test of association, it's now like a proof to what descriptive analysis says. You can see actually here from this table, we have more male in management and a few of female in management. So you can actually see that anytime you run what? A chi-square test of association, it's like a proof to what descriptive says. Is that clear? So anytime you share such kind of information to the management, it is now upon them to find a solution to to that. Sawa sawa. So your work is to find if there is a relationship or not. So your work is only to find if there is a relationship or not, and the rest you leave to the decision makers. So I want to pause a bit and open up the floor if there's any clarification, because I think we have learned a lot today, being also a long way after breaking for some time.
Categorical, but
Yes.
how do you determine the continuous ones?
We are going to actually do it. We are going to actually do it. The other three. You mean the other three? Yes, we are going to do it. What I wanted us to do, I wanted to make sure that we are